Hello, it's Reija and welcome to another video. Today I am going to be sharing with you my September reading wrap-up. Now, my space opera September was a complete bust and my Civil War did not really get off the ground at all, but I'm lucky to say that my magical readathon was a roaring success. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm first going to be talking about all of the books that I didn't read for the magical readathon but were for other things, just for my own enjoyment or book clubs. So starting with, I read volumes 4 and 5 of Witch Hat Atelier by Kamome Shirahama. I gave these volumes 4 stars each, and this series is just going on a really great direction. In these 2 volumes we find out more about like the witch world, how these different trials that the apprentices have to take work. We find out more about these like brimmed hat witches, and these 2 volumes are just chock full of exploration on the world and on the magic itself, but they're also full of commentary on what makes a good teacher. Like we are shown to 2 different mentors who approach the subject of teaching in a certain way, and we are also shown some darker sides of Kifri, who is the main character's teacher, and we are also shown through these volumes how damaging a poor role model and a poor teacher can have on an individual's like learning and confidence. And I just thought that these volumes were so fantastic, and I am in love with this series, and I am just so excited every time I have a new volume that I have that I can pick up. I just get so excited about it. Like I feel like I just want more. I want more depth, I want to say. Like I feel like I need the author to go just a little bit further in the exploration, like a little bit deeper than just surface level with some of the things she's doing. But other like this series is just so good. I am really enjoying it. So 4 stars to each of these volumes. And then I read Spy X Family Volume 5 by Tatsuya Endo. I also gave this volume 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. This is one of the funniest volumes yet, and this series is just, it just keeps surprising me. Like I'm always nervous that the author will lose ideas, like that he will run out of ideas what to do in this setting, and therefore he will run out of jokes. But so far he's constantly coming up with new ridiculous ideas, and Anya is my favorite character. She's great, and everything to do with her and the school is like high points in this series, so I am really enjoying it. And even Yor's brother is starting to grow on me. So like his character has so far been the least enjoyable part of the series, but even he, like now that the other characters are sort of pointing out how unhealthy his obsession with his sister is, so he's kind of the butt of the joke in a sense. I find him more palatable now. So yeah, 4 stars to Spy X Family Volume 5. Then I read Cast, The Origin of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. This was the September pick for Jess Owens' Book Community Read Book Club, and I listened to this on audio. And I definitely found a lot to enjoy about this book. I learned a lot of like history, and basically caste studies this idea of whether the United States is kind of working on a sort of unofficial, invisible caste system. And it sort of examines that and then compares and contrasts it with other caste systems, for example, in India and also in Nazi Germany. And it kind of examines the structure of caste, the implications of it, and also how it affects people, and tries to give suggestions of how to break free from it. And I found it to be really interesting. I got a lot of new information and context for American history, and especially during the civil rights movement era. And yeah, I thought that it was a worthwhile read. I will actually leave the live stream that Jess Owens did with a bunch of other like co-hosts down in the description, so you can also watch it and hear some other people talk about the book, because I think my opinion of the book as non-affected European is very different from other people who read it. So I will leave that live stream linked in the description. But I gave this book 4 stars. I really think it was a very educational read for me. And now for the books that I read for the Magical Readathon. First up, I read Cocoon Entwined Volume 2 by Yuriko Hara, and this was to complete the challenge of reading a book with a school setting. And this is basically all about sapphic yearning and this sort of mystery behind this school and how it became this bastion of this old tradition of crafting these uniforms out of women's hair. And yeah, it basically just continues on from the first volume, but also this second volume introduces a lot of like weird lore about the history of the world and the uniforms themselves, so it was very interesting. I definitely think that this volume was a lot stronger than the first one, and also it is just basically hair porn. Like, all of these girls' hair is drawn in a very like luscious manner. Like, I definitely get a lot of hair envy out of this manga. And I gave Cocoon Entwined Volume 2 3.5 stars. I still think that it is an interesting series. I want to keep reading it, but I also think that it leans very much into this idea of these uniforms made from hair and this sapphic yearning between all of the girls, but it doesn't really go deeper than surface level in its execution of the story, so far at least. So that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. Next I read Don't Go Without Me by Rosemary Valero O'Connell, and this completed the prompt of read a book featuring ghosts, haunted house, etc. And I gave this 4 stars. This was very interesting. This collection has 3 stories, and my only gripe really with this collection is that all of the stories end just as you're getting somewhere. Like, basically Valero O'Connell gives you the hook, the premise of the story, and then when it's going somewhere and it's like getting to the point of climax, she ends it. And it's kind of like unsatisfactory in that sense that you're like, wait, and you're never really given the finisher. There's not a lot of closure here. But I also think that that may actually be a strength as well, because all of these stories got me thinking of what might come next. So that was also pretty fun. And the art is just beautiful. It's this, each story has a different color palette, but all of the color palettes are limited. And it is just so richly illustrated. And and this is another story, like, with a different color palette, and it's just gorgeously illustrated. And all of these stories are, in a way, about loss, about memories, and about sacrifice, and what we are willing to give up in order to gain something else, you know. And I just thought that this was such a great reading experience, and I want to read this again at some point, because I feel like, especially with those open-ended stories, you might get a different sense of the stories every time you read them. And I just love the art. I mean, I could just soak in the art by itself. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars and I highly recommend it. Then I read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, and this completed a challenge to read a thriller or mystery book. And I immersion read this, so basically I was following along in this paperback while I listened to the audio version narrated by Kenneth Branagh. And it was a fun experience, to be sure, to have the audio constantly working on the background as you were reading. It was very nice, and I definitely got a lot more out of it than I would have if I hadn't done it this way. And also, I feel like the audio narration actually helped me like this book more. Kenneth Branagh does a wonderful Poirot. I feel like his voice that he did for Hercule Poirot was very evocative of David Suchet, who is my favorite Poirot actor. And yeah, I just personally wasn't the biggest fan of the actual mystery, because basically this whole murder mystery doesn't work unless Poirot jumps into the biggest possible conclusion, like, possible, and he's like, oh yeah, this person is that person based on this really circumstantial piece of evidence that I just happened to find that we can't even prove was actually relevant. And then, like, I liked the atmosphere and I like the character of Hercule Poirot, but I actually don't like the mystery in this book much at all. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't thrilling. Also, like, some of the things in this book haven't aged well at all, and I kind of got a little chuckle out of how blatantly xenophobic and stuff some of the things in this were, because it's like one character has this weird bias against Italians, which gets called out regularly, and I thought that was funny and surprisingly nuanced considering Christie's track record in general. But yeah, I gave this 3 stars. And finally, the last book that I managed to finish during the month of September was An Illusion of Thieves by Kate Glass. I also immersion read this, I listened to the audiobook on Scribd, and I also read through the paperback. And I am conflicted about this book because on the one hand, I really liked parts of it. I liked the sort of magical abilities that people exhibited in this. I liked that the main characters had very unhealthy ways of coping with things, and that was actually addressed in this book. For example, the main character kind of self-medicates with alcohol a lot, and has a sort of, like, she is at the start of the novel she is working as a sex worker, and she has, like, her way of coping has been to sort of romanticize her relationship with the patron that she has had this, that she's been the mistress of. And I also really liked, I liked a lot of the characters in this. Like, if you want to talk about like lovable characters, I think these characters are actually pretty nice. Like, there's this mixture of camaraderie, and it is a kind of found family slash band of crooks that end up like doing a heist. So this has a heist element in it as well, which was pretty neat. But I also thought that this book was very repetitive at times. Like, there was a section where there was a lot of repetition and we didn't really manage to get on with the plot. And the pacing therefore felt a little bit off. Like, at times it felt repetitive and at times it felt rushed because the author was basically playing catch up, especially during the heist scene. That could have like used some more fleshing out. And also I think that by the end everyone kind of gets their story neatly wrapped up. I would have wished for some more like messiness. Like, that's what I'm always looking for. Like, I need more messiness because like these characters are supposed to feel like human, they're supposed to make mistakes, and also not everything needs to be explained, not everything needs to be explored, you know? Because in life, like, we don't always get satisfactorily happy endings and stuff. So therefore I wish that some more risks were taken with some of the narrative choices. But yeah, overall I kind of enjoyed this. Like, it's not my favorite and I probably won't buy the second one, but I saw that it is on Scribd, so I might pick it up for an audio listen later. So I gave this 3.5 stars. It was okay, but not like an all-time favorite. And there you have it. Those were all of the books that I finished in the month of September. Tell me in the comments which of these sounds the most interesting to you, and please leave me an emoji of, let's see, leave me an emoji of a watch or a clock so that I know that you were here, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye bye!